Hi, it's PS2 Fatboy here again with another video podcast with yours truly, the Stone Samurai, over to my left. And we thought we'd do another one because we had so much fun last night talking, discussing Sopranos. It was a blast. Really enjoyed it. Got some good feedback about it. And we're going to talk about horror movies that influenced as a kid or scared the fucking bejesus out of us as a child. Um, Now, I came from an era of the like 70s and 80s.
Mm.
Our little Stone Samurai was from the '90s era, so there's different decades of horror films there. So we're going to touch on some films that scared the fuck out of us. And how you doing, the Stone Samurai? How you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm good. Got
I'm
my phone charged up to about 80%. We're gonna
That's
ride
good.
this bitch
We'll get
out, son.
80% of a video podcast ready
Yeah,
to go.
80%. At some point, worst case scenario,
Mm.
I'll turn my video off for a second and plug that bitch back in.
Yeah, no,
Worst
that's
case
okay.
scenario.
No, that's okay.
We'll be
It's all
fine.
good.
But I'm
Um,
good, man. How are you? What's shaking,
Um,
bacon?
I'm good, man. I'm actually really good, and like I said, I had such a buzz last night on the chats, and I really missed it. Like with you,
Mm,
like because like we have always a good connection. We always have good conversations, and I think that's good when you can actually have a really good conversation with somebody, and especially about subjects that we're both passionate about, which is movies, music, games, and
movies
stuff.
and
Yeah,
pop culture.
yeah, pop culture
Yeah.
in general. So we did briefly discuss last night about doing one about horror films that scared the shit out of us as kids, or just that we loved as kids. So I thought I would ask you, what's your earliest experience of watching a horror film? Like, what was your most earliest experience remembering like a horror movie as a child? Do you vaguely remember?
Man, first horror movie that I watched, man, was the last
Yeah.
Monster Squad.
Oh my
That was
god! I love
that
that
was my
movie.
introduction. Yeah,
I,
it was
That's such.
bitching.
That was. You know what? Tyler mentioned that last night to me. He said that movie scared the shit out of me because I made him watch it when he was a kid, and he was
Hmm.
fucking shit scared of Dracula and the vampires and the
Dude,
Wolfman.
Dragon of the Vampires
Yeah,
and the Wolfman,
man, the
and then you
Wolfman.
know what? Too?
Wolfman's got
The
nards.
Swamp Thing, the Swamp Thing was fucking creepy too.
Yeah,
Like he creeped me the fuck out.
yeah,
But yeah, that was my introduction, man, and
mm,
I had to have been um 4 or 5 years old.
yeah.
Like,
Such a good movie.
um, yeah,
It's
that was my
cheesy.
introduction. What about
It's
you?
cheesy
Like,
fun, but it's great.
what,
Like
what was your introduction? That's
Um.
what.
Oh, my introduction to this horror movie. I think it was um pre Elvira. So there was this old
Mm.
guy that used to do horror movie show hosts, and I think he was in a coffin. And my mum was watching TV like normal TV and it was like late at night, and I think I was like maybe 5 or 6, and she was watching this horror movie on there, and it was like some cheesy stuff. But I can't really remember the movie, but I remember the horror host was creepy as shit. He was like in his coffin, he had cobwebs around him, had these really bulging eyes, and I went to my bedroom and I couldn't sleep. Oh my god, the video just went off. What the fuck?
That was
Um,
weird. I'm
oh,
still here.
oh,
Can you
okay.
hear me?
Yeah, mine's here. Okay, we just had some problems there. Okay, that's weird. Discord being weird. Um, so yeah, I got the shit scared out of me watching that, and
Hmm.
I was like, "Mom, I'm not like I'm late
Honestly,
because you're
your
mine."
description of that.
Mm.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, your description of that kind of made me think of Tales of the Crypt.
Yeah, I
You
wasn't.
know?
It was not way before Tales of the Crypt. Like,
Yeah,
it was just
obviously.
yeah,
That was
but it
what?
was
That was
like that was so
80s, man.
yeah. It was like 81 maybe 80 because I remember living in a small town called Kapunda, and it was like late night TV viewing, and there was this old creepy guy in the coffin. And he was actually his eyeballs, but I don't know what crappy horror movie. But I go in there, ask my mum for a drink or something, and then I catch this guy there, and he's talking about some horror movie, and she's like, "Go to bed. You can't watch this. It's scary." And I'm watching this guy, and I'm transfixed with his face because I'm a kid and I'm stupid. And then, don't look at it. What do I do? Look at it. And I had
Exactly.
nightmares. But the first official horror movie I watched was The Changeling with George C. Scott, and I was like maybe 7 or 8, and that movie was freaky as shit, dude. All right, it's one of the most scariest films. If you haven't seen it, go catch it, because what happens is, I think he's like an author or something, and he goes to this house, and it's got a history. The husband killed his wife and kid, but they never found the body. There was no evidence, I think, vaguely. Anyway, he goes
Mm.
there and he's playing this fucking piano, and this house is creepy. It's got the creepy vibes, right? He's playing this piano and he hears this noise, and I think it's maybe a child's toy, just a little car just rolling down there. But because the movie is so silent, scares the fucking buggery out of you, and you find that the child and the mother are trapped inside the house. He left their body in the house in the attic, in the wall, and they're crying to be, they want peace. So they're actually looking for him. But the murderer who killed him, I think he killed himself in there, is still haunting the house. I can't vaguely remember the whole plot, but I just remember that scene, and I just like shit myself because it's just really intense ghost. Because like I can watch a slasher film, people getting hacked to pieces. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm a virgin. I'm gonna get chopped up. That stuff to me is just, I love it. It's great. And gory stuff is cool. Ghost stuff scares the fuck out of me. I'm like,
Yeah.
because it's honestly if that's the most horror element, that's probably the most, I don't know, feels more real. You know what I mean? Like you
Mm.
hear, like you never heard of a slasher killing 50 people and hacking innocent virgins. It just sounds like, I know there's serial killers out there,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't go. Yeah, it's just a bit
It's a lot
hokey.
more far-fetched.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I agree. And I mean, when it comes to ghosts, right, even if you don't
mm,
necessarily believe in them,
mm,
you can still have that mentality of like, even when you were younger, when you're older,
mm,
you're laying down, you get a new house, or even if it's a house you've lived in for a while,
mm-hmm.
you hear a
Yeah.
couple bumps and creaks at night, and for a split second, your imagination kind of plays with you a little bit because
Oh
you're like,
yeah.
man, what is that? Is somebody in my house? Is there something running around? But no, that sounds pretty cool. I'll have to check it out. Is it like a black and white type of
No, it's
movie?
it came out. I think it came out in the really late 70s. And there's another movie I remembered about these guys, and I watched that movie, and that scared the fucking shit out of me. About these guys who were all transfixed with the same girl, and she died, and they hid her body, and they're old men now, and her ghost comes back to kill them after they're old, and it had like some really, I can't remember the name of it, but it was really creepy. It was a creepy movie, but
That sounds like that kind of sounds like the premise for that movie I think it was with you. Um, I Spit on Your Grave.
no,
Except,
it's not Spit on My Grave.
but
This was a lot less subtle. It wasn't like Spit, because what happens is
yeah, I was
yeah,
gonna say
yeah,
Spit on Your Grave is
yeah,
fucking
yeah,
pretty
but
brutal.
yeah, but this was really creepy because like they're in this car, and it's like set back in the 1920s when they were young men, and they were being very she was a very promiscuous lady, and they were all attracted to her. But I think she dies, and they hide her body, and then her ghost comes back to haunt them. But it's actually a good movie. I'm just trying to remember the name. Um, God, that was such a good movie. But that one creeped me out too because like her body is all decomposed because she's been left in the water, I think, and she's like all wet and shit, and her face
Mm.
is all fucked up. And like this movie from the 80s, like that's another thing I like about horror movies from back then too. Is the practical effects. I think is just phenomenal. Like if you like, there's some like if you like Creep Show was one of those classic 80 horror movies that I used to love as a kid. Like Creep Show 1 and
Yeah.
2, I'd watch them back to back on VHS with my friends, and we'd like get the popcorn and shit ourselves being little teeny boppers, like 12, 13-year-olds watching it on the old VHS tapes, put it in there on the top loading. And that's another
Man,
thing I miss. There's trailers too. Like you don't get them anymore.
most like you were talking about Creep Show, and it was one of those movies that I watched a couple times as a kid.
Yeah,
But it was like one of those throwaway movies that you watch as a
yeah,
kid, like something
yeah,
you watched quite a bit, but like you can't really recall it later
yeah.
on. But the thing I do remember about it the most was the VHS cover, and it was
Mm.
like that ghoul with the fucking Grim
Yeah,
Reaper type
yeah,
of like
yeah.
robe or
But you had the
something over.
robe and stuff. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
creepy
and
as
it's just like that's and to go on to what you're saying, that's one thing I miss about video stores is
the artwork.
with Netflix. with Netflix, right? They have like the movie cover art, and sometimes it's not that good, right?
Mm,
Or just be like a picture of the celebrity. Um,
I
as to
wholeheartedly
where like
agree.
With the VHS cover box, right? Or even with the DVD cover,
Mm,
right?
mm,
There's people who literally get paid to market to make sure that they
mm,
have an image grabs the most attention and
mm-hmm,
gives the most information without revealing too much.
mm,
So that way the customer can be like, "Oh shit, okay. So
mm,
this movie has titties in it. It's got stabbing in it. Like we're going to
yeah.
go watch this, you know?"
I
Um
miss I
so
miss I miss cover art on videos and DVDs. Like Fright Night
yeah,
is a perfect one. I remember when Fright Night 2 came out. It was in a coffin shaped video
video.
cover. It
Yeah.
was and it had like the ghoul there above the building. But someone put so much detail in the artwork. Like that was a piece of art to me. I thought it was amazing. Like I miss
Yeah.
that. Like about and because that would catch your eye. You'd go to the video store and you see a cover. Oh my god, that looks cool, and that would catch your eye. And you look at the back, and then if you turn around and you read the premise of the story of the movie, oh yeah, this sounds alright, and it's R
Yeah.
rated. I should be watching this. I'm definitely
I
getting
would see
it.
movies.
Booah!
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
for real. But and that's the thing, and you had mentioned this earlier, and I wanted to get back to it, so I'm glad we did.
Mm,
You grew up in a different era,
yeah.
right? And the movies I absorbed, obviously there was some stuff that I watched that, maybe you didn't see.
Mm,
But the interesting thing was growing up as a 90s kid,
mm.
there was a very huge emphasis on paying homage to the predecessors, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
growing up as a kid in the 90s, if you started listening to comedy, people are like, okay, if you think that Chris Rock or David Spade or Chris
Mm,
Farley, you think these are funny, check out this guy or check out that guy.
yeah.
Like there was always like people like Bill Hicks or somebody that was established and
Richard
somebody that
Pryor,
was
Eddie Murphy back in the
yeah,
day. Those
yeah.
guys, Steve Martin.
There was an emphasis on it, and then on top of that,
Mm.
the video store experience. That's how I got introduced to a lot of the movies that
Oh
I've
yeah.
watched. Because we've had this conversation before,
Mm.
PS2, because you've been like, man, for somebody your age, you know quite a bit about
You
movies.
do. You
Well,
do.
a lot of it's because I used to go to the video store that was 10, 15 blocks away on
Yep.
my bike as a kid,
Yep.
and go rent as many movies as I could carry while I was riding my bike, and
Yeah. I
go
miss
watch
that
them,
so
go.
much.
Man, it was so fun.
Yep. And it
The thing
smell
I
of that
don't
popcorn too. The smell of the
Well, yeah, the
popcorn
popcorn is nice,
and the
but I don't
snacks.
miss late fees. I don't
Yeah.
miss
Fuck
late
that.
fees
Fuck
whatsoever.
that.
Because, dude, I I feel like I still owe Blockbuster and a couple of the local chains. Like
Yeah.
I owe them at least like $20 to $50
Yeah.
in late
Plus
fees
the
at
interest,
the
six
minimum.
thousand dollars.
Yes. All right. So my question for you, back
Yeah.
to the horror period.
Yeah. That's all right.
Obviously we just asked about like first movies. What was the movie that you watched when you were a kid, like the first one that started giving you nightmares about stuff that you saw in that movie?
That would have to be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's a pretty creepy
That
one.
because I was about 8 or 9, and I lived in a very small town called Terrauri, so that looked like a ghost town. Like 150 people
Hmm.
lived there. There was no asphalt, roads. It was all dirt roads, pretty much, except for your main street. And I went to my friend's house for a sleepover, and I vividly remember this because it scared the fuck out of me. And he had an older brother who was like 18 or 19, and he was babysitting us. All right, his parents went out and they said, "Right, don't watch any scary stuff with the boys." And we had our local video store. We didn't have any stores in our town, but there was a town called Peterborough, which I'm currently living in now, that had the biggest video store in the mid north. And he went there and hired a bunch of movies, like weeklies, like five for a week. He got the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And of course, they went out and he said, "Hey, you guys want to watch a scary movie?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're not going to be scared. This is going to be great." He said, "No, it's pretty
Hmm.
scary. It's R rated. There's lots of blood." And he said, and we were all like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was about 9." He goes, "You want to watch it?" "Yep, let's do it." You watch this, and now the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not just a horror movie. It's a movie that's like on acid. It's fucked up. And when you're a young kid watching this film, it fucked me over, dude. Like, it fucked me over. I was a little tubby kid.
Well, I mean, look,
I,
if you think about it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
As a kid, a chainsaw is already frightening
Oh
enough, right?
Jesus! It scared the fuck out of me. Yeah, the noise, but when you see
Right?
Leatherface and he's like cutting up people and he's chasing after motherfuckers, I didn't stay there. I said, "No, I gotta go home because I think." Anyway, I run home, and it was a really windy night. It was like 8:30, 9 o'clock after we watched the movie. I run home, and all I can hear is that fucking chainsaw. So I'm sprinting like fuck to home, and I lay under my bed and I put the covers over my head and I tuck them right in like my whole body, and then you're like in that little ball, like little fetal position, and you're like,
Yeah.
no one's get me. And what was worse was my bedroom was right near a road, so and it was a really narrow road, so the width of a car actually. So when cars went past it made a god awful noise. So I was sound asleep and I'd hear it, and then I'd wake up and I could start thinking that stupid chainsaw shit, and I was like that for weeks. I had like nightmares for weeks about some motherfucker trying to chop me up with a chainsaw. But the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the first movie that made me shit scared. But it also made me appreciate horror movies. Like I like once you get that fix of getting scared, like there's a little bit of
Yeah,
an
you want
adrenaline.
more.
Yeah, you want more. And then like when we go for a sleepover, we'd get his older brother to get more horror movies, and we'd watch him and get shit scared. I remember one time we was laying there in front of the TV, and we all had like blankets and we had like our sleeping bags, and we were watching this film. I think it was like a mass murder, killing sweaty virgins and shit left, right, and center. But I wasn't scared. I was starting to get used to it. But John, he was the oldest one. He was shitting himself. He pissed himself like he wet himself because he was so shit scared. He's like, ah! Like because the axe, like he had like a sickle or something, and he was under the bed. And he just chopped this guy's head as he was looking underneath the bed. And that's another thing: is the creative kills in slasher movies, like the things like were happening in horror films. But yeah, I would say, what was your favorite? Like, what was the first film that made you go run into mum and dad's bedroom, and go, "Mom, it's a monster!"
Fucking Halloween, dude.
Oh
Halloween.
yeah, that
And
is shit scary.
this is why. Multiple reasons. One, I live in Illinois. It takes place in
Haddonfield, Illinois.
So that's one. Two, right? Everyone remembers Halloween 2 took place at the hospital.
Yep.
It looked just like the hospital that was 2 or 3 blocks away from my house, right? When I was growing up, okay? And then on top of it, we had a like a mental asylum basically that was like 10, 15 blocks away.
Are you kidding
and
me?
Whenever there was, I'm not joking. So whenever there was an escape, there would be like an extreme lockdown, there would be a siren that would go off, and it would be a way so everybody in the neighborhoods would know to make sure to get everybody inside, lock up all the doors, thing. And yeah, it was bad, man. So that shit used to creep me the fuck out. And then on top of that, this is the best part. I had a neighbor who worked at a haunted house.
Oh my god.
And he used to walk around with the fucking Michael Myers mask on.
Oh my god.
And how it all started, man. So it was a whole group of us, like growing up in my neighborhood. There was a whole bunch of kids and shit, right?
Yeah.
And I was like one of the younger ones, and I was hanging around. And all the older kids were hanging out that night. They were going to watch the Halloween series because they went and rented all the fucking movies.
Yep.
And I was like, man, I want to fucking watch this. And then, you know, my mom and everybody was like, no, you're going to have nightmares. And I'm like, no, I'm not, blah, blah, blah. So I end up talking them into it. And we watched the first 2 and I was like scared shitless, right?
Oh, that is
and I didn't want to admit it because, you know, I wanted to be cool. But then they put on the shitty Halloween 3 movie, which wasn't even really like Michael Myers, but
yeah, it was the masks.
It had this scene in the beginning where this dude's getting chased down by this guy in the car, and the guy catches up to him, or I think the dude's in the hospital or something after getting fucked up, and the dude takes his thumbs and puts it inside his eye
because he's like an android. I remember that one.
Yeah. It was, dude, it fucked with me. In that scene, I got up from the house that I was chilling at, and it was a room full of all the neighborhood kids, man. And I fucking got up and I booked it home, right? Later that night, the fucking neighbor that we were watching it at his house, he was an asshole. He came to my house in my backyard, fucking knew where my bedroom was, tapped on my window with the Michael Myers mask and scared the shit out of me.
Fucking, What an
Dude,
arsehole.
it scared the piss out of me, man. And so, like, for real, for like the next like 2 to 3 years, man,
Oh.
fucking nightmares. So Russell, if you ever watch this, you're a fucking asshole, and you know what Russell you are, because you fucking lived next door to me for like 10, 15
That
years, you
is some
piece of shit.
creepy shit. That's some creepy shit.
Man,
But yeah,
dude,
I like
seriously,
I
I
like
used to get
actually didn't
thrown in the
mind.
neighborhood.
But it's amazing, like when you look back at the movie that you were shit scared of and how corny it was now. But you can see,
Mhm.
but you're an impressionable kid. You know, these are new feelings and emotions you're feeling, like shit scared. You don't feel that until you see something like that on the screen. Um,
Well, and I mean, just like, okay, so I was an adventurous kid, right?
oh, I bet you were.
So because of that, I got fucked up a lot. Like
Yeah.
I would fall, get
Mm,
scrapes, like I fell on something and I got stabbed
mm,
by some shit,
mm.
and like like constant like cuts and bruises and
Yeah.
stabs and all
Same
this.
here's growing up, man. I lived out in the middle of a small town.
Yeah,
You get
so you would just get into it. Like I lived in a big city, but the thing was, so like we'd always there was like woods in the country that was like 15, 20 minutes away on a bike ride. So like
mm-hmm,
we'd fuck around, you know.
explore.
hmm But yeah, man. So like just knowing the pain that comes from like having something puncture your skin,
Mm,
or like the pain from getting a broken bone,
yeah.
or like the pain of like getting, yeah,
Mm,
it was so real to me. And like I said, because of the fact I live so close to this like insane asylum,
yeah.
um, it yeah, man, it fucked with me a
Nah,
lot.
fuck that. Did you know my mum actually worked at one and she got sacked on her first
Oh
night?
really?
Yeah, she when she was a young lady, she got hired by a company to clean the the mental wards, and I remember her telling me the story. And what happened was she was cleaning, right? And they said this section here you can't go in there. You got to lock it up. It's got to be locked behind you as you go through each area. So she forgot her first night. She forgot to lock those doors, and a bunch of loonies got out and they had to call security. And she's like, and said, like, who was here? Like, who was there? And they said, there's the janitor, which was my mum. And like a handful of loonies got out. They're wandering around. They had to, bail them up and put them back in their rooms. And she got sacked within a few hours of a job first night. I remember her
Yeah,
telling me that.
pretty
But yeah,
rough.
oh, but yeah, they were like these were dangerous people. Like they weren't like criminally insane, but they were like you should be around them sort of thing. And plus that was the 70s. But oh yeah, you get freaked out. But yeah, Halloween. Honestly, that is a great series too.
It's a
Like
great film series. I mean,
yeah,
the premise of it, right? And obviously,
mm,
I feel like the majority of people watching this
mm.
know about Halloween. But if you
Oh
haven't
hell
seen
yeah,
it, even as an old movie, still go back and watch it. Even if it's been
it's
spoiled,
the granddaddy.
still go
It's the
back and watch
granddaddy of
it.
slashes.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a great way of getting to see like how
Mm,
slasher films now have
mm.
gotten inspiration
Oh hell
and
yeah,
where they got their ideas from.
yeah.
And yeah, but it's just the story of it is something that's interesting, right? I think
Mm,
anytime that you have something mythical or something
mm,
supernatural, instantly a lot of people are intrigued because
mm.
there is a lot of stuff on a day-to-day basis that people come across that you can't explain.
Yeah.
Um,
Y-
I myself, I find myself as a very superstitious type of person, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
am
saying
too.
that I fucking do pagan rituals or anything like
Yeah.
that, but I like to think that there's some sort of like supernatural or some sort of mystic being or entity that kind of has like some control on some shit that happens from time to
Y-
time.
Not every
Um,
not every person's insane. There's got to be some
yeah,
sort of validity to what they're saying. Not everybody. You know
well,
what I mean?
yeah,
Some.
but to get back to Halloween, so
Mm,
basically it's a story about a cult that was started up a long time ago that's originated from Stonehenge,
mm,
okay?
yep.
And it was part of like this pagan cult and it was known as Curse of the Thorn,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it was sort of a um star lining, like some sort of
Mm-hmm.
star system lining
Mm,
up, and when it line up it would align with Stonehenge
mm,
and it would
mm.
allow like some
Yeah, it
gateway
was
or
a it was
something.
a it was a UK holiday. It was like a European holiday, wasn't it? Because everyone
Yeah,
thinks it's American based, but you got to remember Europeans come to America and brought their culture and their
a
beliefs
lot
and
of their
also their holidays.
superstitions
And
and
yeah, and
everything.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
where But a lot of people think,
And
oh,
so
It's American, but it's celebrated in Europe as well.
no, definitely.
Mm,
And so you have that and you have the creation of this cult,
mm,
and which eventually allows for the creation of Michael Myers.
Mm,
And it starts off the way you get introduced in this movie is they start off from a first person perspective,
mm,
and it's from like a child's perspective,
mm,
and you see them grab a knife
mm,
and ends up stabbing this girl who you end up
mm.
finding out is their
His
sister.
sister, yeah.
And you end up finding out that this kid was basically used and manipulated by this cult
Mm,
because they realized that basically children are the easiest to control,
yeah.
right? They have malleable minds. They're
Mm,
very passionate though.
mm,
So that's the thing about children. We can say all we want to, all they're dumb, but they are very passionate when it comes to feelings.
mm,
Children are intellectual, at least in that.
yeah.
They may not act intellectual, but
Mm,
they understand
mm,
as much as we do at an adult age.
yeah.
So you fast forward and you have a and do you want to call him like a psychologist or a therapist with Dr. Loomis,
Dr.
who
Loomis played by Donald Pleasance.
Donald
He
Pleasance,
was
who slayed that fucking
he
role,
was
man. Donald
brilliant.
Pleasance
He was brilliant. He made those
slayed the role.
movies.
And
Michael!
so Michael,
Michael
Michael,
Myers must die!
yeah.
I loved it.
So
I loved him in those movies.
you get introduced to this character played by
Mm,
Donald Pleasance,
mm.
and you find out that
Oscar
it's this guy
nominated actor.
who,
I think he won an Oscar for roles, and like he was like a proper thespian trained actor.
yeah,
And
he
yeah,
was very
mm.
well,
He was
yeah,
excellent in those movies.
he was great. But you get introduced to him, and you find out it's a tale of not
Mm,
just this cult and this
mm,
kid that's
mm,
manipulated and the tragedy that happens to the family,
mm.
but it's also a tale of a man feeling as if he's a failure because he wasn't able to get through and help this kid that he
Yeah,
wanted to,
yeah, it's
right?
excellent.
And it's actually really sad, and it's
Mm,
interesting to just see this constant struggle
mm,
throughout the series
mm,
of Dr. Loomis trying to reach through and still get to this
mm.
kid that's been impenetrable,
He's pretty much a
but also
shell.
still,
He's a shell. He's
yeah,
got no emotion. He's like a wall. He doesn't have
hmm
emotion. He's just a blank wall. Also, this is a really cool. I don't know if you know this. There's a cat. Ope Dope is our special guest. He's going to tell us what scary movies. I learned this as well. When Halloween was released in theaters and stuff, and when it was eventually about to be shown on TV, they actually added some extra scenes because the movie had to be chopped up for TV viewing, but they didn't want to like lose like so many minutes, so they actually added these scenes specially made for TV, and there's some extra scenes, and I think there's some more dialogue by Dr. Loomis and a couple other scenes that are added just solely for TV. So I think that's really hard to find, but you can actually find those scenes on YouTube uploaded,
my,
and yeah, so that's really cool. Halloween, I remember watching that on VHS, and I loved it. Like Jamie Lee Curtis was the Scream Queen. She was now the Scream Queen. She was the Scream Queen back then. And what's really funny is her mother was Janet Leigh in Psycho, who was like the original Scream Queen, if you think about it. She's like
mhm.
getting murdered in the shower. And she's also the daughter of Tony Curtis, the actor. What was amazing is you got this really low budget film. I think it cost $300,000 to make, and a lot of that went to Donald Pleasance's bloody paycheck. You know,
Yeah,
it was the most highest grossing independent film of all time at the time. It made millions, and when that movie made millions, everyone wanted the bandwagon. We want a sequel, and then everyone started copying. And that's why what Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th copied Halloween. No, I don't care what people say. They even admitted it. Yes, we wanted our own slasher, and I love Friday the 13th. Like Friday the 13th is like
yeah.
one of my
No,
favorites. I
they
love
adopted the
Jason.
formula,
Oh,
but
fucking
the thing
great
is
movies.
though,
Yeah.
Halloween kind of adopted the formula though of George Romero, right? Like
Mm.
really cheap production,
Yep.
but really well made script lines and
Mhm.
really thought out characters
Mhm.
and plot lines to draw people in. And
Mm.
that's why I loved Halloween. It's because like I said, man, it was a horror movie and it was more than a horror movie. And
Mm.
not just that,
Yep.
we had kind of talked about it before we went live.
Mm.
a lot of times with slashers, it's one of those things where it's like, man, that's not gonna happen. Like Friday the
Mm,
13th, like
mm.
it's a cool idea.
Yeah,
This thing getting hit
yeah,
by lightning and smashing
yeah.
up fucking kids that are trying
I
to have
love
sex.
Friday the 13th Part 6. That was so stupid, but I loved it.
It's a great concept, but
Yeah,
it's something that's far fetched.
yeah.
But the idea of like some sort of cult trying to like possess somebody and take
Mm,
complete control of
mm,
someone or something,
mm,
and somebody going crazy and murdering their family
mm.
and doing anything they can to
That
like
is
not
more
stop.
realistic.
It's a more realistic
Mm,
concept and
mm,
something that you can be like,
mm,
okay, maybe that could happen.
mm,
So your imagination plays with you
mm.
more.
And,
So that's why I love
well,
Halloween.
with the Halloween films, I feel that they, especially like the first two, especially the first two, were like, like a lot of people diss Halloween 2, like saying, "Oh, it's just a cash grab," but I thought that was really good. I thought it was a decent sequel, you know.
Halloween
But
two
then,
is probably better
yeah,
than the first.
yeah, and the first one, like they didn't know what they were doing. Like, well, they did know what they were doing, but what I'm saying is they didn't realize on how much of an impact it would be on cinema, on how much of an
Yeah,
impact it would be on horror films in the culture now. Like for starters, John Carpenter directed that movie, and he is
yeah,
like
and
one of
there's
my
a soundtrack
and
for
the
it, and
soundtrack.
fucking
Yeah,
crazy.
and he that's what I love about his films. He's like he's so hands on approach with the movie, and
Hmm.
that movie is great because like okay, we don't have a huge budget. How do we make this scary? How do we make this where people feel like someone's watching him? And it's the way he makes the film. Like, where those girls are just talking, but they feel that there's someone's watching them and they're looking over there. And you can just see the shadow from a distance where Michael's just
Yeah,
standing near a hedge. Or the famous scene where those the bed sheets are flapping out there near the window. And you can just see a shadow there looking, you know. Those scenes there, that puts a fucking chill up your spine because you're like, fuck,
yeah.
because like you know, and that's really good, and those scenes have been copied so much by so many horror films. They try to do that horror film where it just copies everybody, and it's a highly influential movie. And I
Well,
loved
see,
Halloween number 2. It was great.
and I'll just say this: I feel like too, it was movies, especially like Halloween and movies from the era that
Mm,
you came from, era that
right?
kind
Yeah.
of came a little bit before me and a little bit during while I was growing up.
Mm,
Um, the vulnerability was something that was more believable and it was
mm.
there on the
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like the idea of this babysitter getting fucking terrorized by this
Yeah.
psychopath. You know, she's this vulnerable teenage girl,
Mm,
right? And that's a scary concept. Even if you're a guy, right? Whether you have a sister, whether you have a girl
mm.
that you're interested in, like nobody wants that to happen to,
No.
you know, someone that you know.
And if the
So it's
character's
just like,
believable too. Like if you look at Jamie Lee
mm,
Curtis, the way she portrays a character is something that's not really shown as much in movies anymore. Because like I feel like, especially later on in the movies, like the slasher thing is sort of like it's more of a cash grab now. I feel like horror movies. If something takes off and does really well, like an indie horror movie, all these big budget production companies want a slice of it, and they'll try to do their own version. Like The Conjuring is a perfect example. The first Conjuring, great, really creepy film, and then now you got all these spin-offs. And I've seen, and I think The Conjuring 1 and 2 were done really, really well. And same thing with Insidious. That movie scared the fuck out of me. That was a really creepy
yeah,
film.
the first one was creepy as shit.
Yeah, and that was creepy as hell. The way that was filmed, not a high budget. They trying to be creative, and they're trying to bring that like that vibe back of what old horror films used to do to you. What you didn't see would scare the fuck out of you, or you know, just play tricks with you. And that's what I think
Yeah.
is lacking in a lot of horror movies now. It's more like jump scares, this creepy music here, or put some special effects in your face, and it's all about jump scares. But I think that's also with people today. They want their bang for their buck sort of thing all the time. When I can watch a movie where nothing happens, but if the dialogue and the acting is really good and it keeps you invested, I'm happy to watch that because like I appreciate what they're doing here. They're not relying on all this pizzazz, they're not relying on the CGI and all that stuff. But if they could invest in some great acting, some great dialogue, some great film work and music, you know, I that's why we was talking about Sopranos. Like there's some episodes where nothing happened, but that captivated you on the way that was acted, on the way it was played out. And same thing with horror films. Uh, they had to be really creative back in the day, and now I feel like this generation now, it's all like it's just a
So
cash
well,
grab.
I
Yeah.
mean, It's all CGI
Yeah,
and trying to see. It's all
yeah,
like Michael Bay-esque type stuff where it's
yeah,
like, can we create the biggest?
yeah.
But that's why I love and appreciate older horror movies
Mm,
because, like we're talking right now,
mm,
lighting was an emphasis, right? Like
mm.
camera lighting,
Yeah,
lighting in the room,
mm,
music, the soundtrack, the
yeah,
score for it was a
yeah.
very important thing. For example, the best example you can have for camera angles and for lighting and for music would be
Mm,
like Hitchcock, right? Like
yeah,
those are classic
yeah.
cinematography
Mm,
masterpieces of ways that you can manipulate
mm,
people's minds and imaginations just
mm,
from having the camera up over top and looking down,
mm,
or having the camera come in from the side and then looking
mm,
up, just to kind of create
mm.
that atmosphere of being closed in and
Also,
having
the
that camera.
what's another one of Hitchcockian's ones was where he would zoom in as you was going out, sort of like things, so it made it look like it was like a Vertigo scene, like it was like zooming in, and made
Yes,
it look
the
like he was
vertigo.
the Vertigo scene where he was falling down, and like he was a very like creative, very creative director with his visuals and stuff, and he is
Yes.
so and like even to this day he is copied. Like people will watch
Yeah.
his movies and get ideas
Well,
and
I mean,
stuff, you know.
how could you not want to do that? Because I mean, he was
Mm,
the granddaddy of horror.
yeah.
He was somebody that did it. And I mean, John Carpenter's even somebody who's been quoted as
Mm,
loving Hitchcock and using his ideas. Because if you
mm.
if you look back,
Oh
since we're on
yeah.
Halloween, there's a lot of specific camera shots that are
Mm,
supposed to instill the idea of this guy stalking this
mm,
woman, right?
mm.
Because the idea of somebody being right up behind you is scary,
Oh
but the
fuck yeah.
idea of somebody being a block and a half behind some bushes,
Mm,
looking through,
mm,
watching you without you even knowing,
mm.
that's even more creepier
Yeah,
because
because you don't have any
again, it's
idea
like,
your security is low because like you don't see that person, but when you know someone's
yeah,
near you, you're on edge. But to
yeah,
know that
because
someone's watching me
when
without a
somebody's trying to
doubt,
sneak up
yeah,
on you, right, you can kind of get that sensation. But
yeah,
again, it's that sense of
mm,
vulnerability that they're
mm,
tapping.
yeah.
Um, but before I go on, because I could talk about Halloween all night,
No, you're right.
I just want to say my favorite Halloween movie of all time has to be Halloween 4.
Um,
That that's just
I'm
been
gonna say something, and I'm not being corny, but that's one of my
mhm.
favorites. I love that one.
Yeah.
I love
Halloween
that.
4 is first.
Halloween 4 was like the return of Michael, and I watched it on video when because like I heard about it, and because like when Halloween 3 didn't do very well, they said we need to bring back Michael Myers, and I watched it. There's a YouTube documentary about Halloween 4, dude. You should. I'll find the link for you and watch it. It's really good. Um,
Hmm.
they wanted to bring back John Carpenter. He's like, no, I'm not fucking doing another Halloween movie. I'm done with that stuff. Like, you got so they got another director to do it, and I think he did a really good job. It's really creepy.
Mustafa Akkad, right?
Hmm?
That's who did it. I think it was.
Dwight
I'm
H.
pretty sure it
Little.
was Mustafa.
No,
Oh,
Mustafa Akkad. Mustafa Akkad was the producer. He had the rights to Halloween. He bought the rights off.
okay.
Yeah, but it was Dwight H. Little who directed Halloween 4, and Mustafa Akkad has the rights to the Halloween franchise, I believe. And what happened
Because yeah,
was,
'cause he
yeah,
took over after
yeah,
Carpenter.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what happened was, yeah, John Carpenter didn't want to do it, and then they offered the role to Donald Pleasance. Hey, you want to come back? He says, "Didn't I fucking die too? Like we blew up. He said, well, we'll put some scars on you. You'll be fine." And that scar, like on his face, he's all burnt and shit. And then they said, like, it's cool. You see, fucking Michael put his thumb in some guy's forehead in the fucking ambulance. We were
Yeah.
pumped, and I remember watching that with my friends because I think it came out on VHS around Halloween time. Like they announced this coming out. I'm pretty sure it came out at Halloween or something like that. Anyway, I remember grabbing that tape, and I was with my friends, 3 or 4 of my friends. We were watching that with popcorn, watching Michael Myers hack the fuck out of people. Only thing we didn't like was
Mhm.
his mask. His mask was so white, like it just stuck out. Um,
Yeah.
but other than that, it's one of my favorites because like he's just a badass, killing people with a
Yeah.
shotgun, jabbing that poor chick with a shotgun, and
Dude,
impaling her through the wall. It's just all
look,
these creative
not
kills.
not just the kills, but dude, the Rachel girl, she was fucking cute
Yeah,
and had
she
a pretty
was.
cool story.
Yep, yep.
And then that one girl that ended up fucking Rachel's like boy
Yeah,
interest, the
the
sheriff's
yeah the
daughter.
chick with the big boobs. Yep, she was
Yeah,
hot. She
man,
was
I tell you
hot.
what, no
Yep.
fucking 10, 11-year-old me was fucking excited about those
Oh,
movies. But
yeah, me
oh
too,
my
man.
god, she's got
Ah,
boobies.
she got some huge boobs. Yeah,
Yeah,
we love
but
that
no,
movie.
so that
Yeah.
was my favorite, and
Mm,
6 was good too. 5 was okay, but I
Yeah,
love 6.
yeah. 5 wasn't too bad, but 6 was good. Yeah, because 5 was
Yeah.
like the same night where Michael. No, 5 was when
No, it was,
It's a year later, and he's been taken
yeah.
care of by that old man, and he wakes up. Yeah, thanks for taking care of me. Stab, kills him,
Yeah.
and then he's got that
Fucking stupid
connection to
old
that
bitch.
girl. Yeah, but 6 was good because I think that was the last one with Donald Pleasance because he died after,
Yeah.
and then it had that cult thing, but they never went anywhere with it after, and they just like rebooted the
No.
franchise, which was a shame. Worst one though is the one with fucking Buster Rhymes. That was like
Oh yeah.
that was
Yeah. That was
Buster
pretty
Rhymes
bad.
kicking Michael Myers through a window.
Doing
I
kung fu
fucking
and
yeah, I was
shit.
like, what the fuck is this shit? It's like he's
I
beating up
mean
one of his
H2O.
homies. Yeah, HU.
H2O was okay.
Yeah, it was
It was
okay.
okay. I will say this though, when it comes to the remakes,
Yeah,
the first Rob Zombie remake
it was
I
good.
thought was flawless.
I
I thought
really
that was
enjoyed it.
flawless.
I thought it was really good.
Um,
I like
Second
where it
one,
went.
not so much.
No, I hated the second one. I really hated it, and I know that he hates it too because like he was trying to add so much to the movie, and they're saying now you got to cut it down. So I think there's a lot cut out of it that doesn't explain what he was trying to do. But the first one was really good. I like how you're seeing Michael as a kid, and bit of a more of a Dr. Loomis is played by Malcolm McDowell this time, and he's like trying to explain, like trying to, you know, use therapy, and you just see how this kid is like changing. Like he's not a kid anymore. There's a demon in there somewhere. Like he's now this killer, you know. And that was really good. I really liked it. And did you see the most recent one? The new.
Yeah, I believe I did. I'm trying to remember some of the stuff that happened because everything's blended together. But I'm pretty sure. Actually, yes, I did see it because the way they ended it.
Mm.
Because they brought back Jamie Lee Curtis and she was like this badass fucking
Yeah, I really like what they
Annie,
did with her.
yeah,
I,
Annie Oakley, dude.
You know
Yeah.
what? I took my son to watch that because he likes Halloween. He loves Michael
Hmm.
Myers, and I took Henry. Remember Henry?
Oh,
Hen-
dude, fucking Henry,
Hen-
Tyler, can you get my
yeah,
phone?
he's a dad now. Henry is now a father. I can't believe that.
What, dude?
Yeah, he's a
Get the
dad.
fuck
Yeah.
out.
Anyway, back to it. I said to Tyler, the new Halloween movie is coming out. Do you want to watch it? And then Henry goes, "Oh, I've never seen them." I said, "Henry, you want to watch a horror movie with us?" So we went and saw it in the cinemas. Loved it. It was just loud, scary shit. You know, you get to see Michael Myers. It's just like cool. I got to see a Halloween movie in the cinemas, and I liked how. One thing I did like about this movie is like it was a direct sequel to what happened that night before. They sort of like bypass the other ones, which I understand because they're trying to make it movie some sense. But it's sort of like this is like, hey, fob this off. I kind of like that idea, but I don't like that idea. If you know what I mean, because it's
Yeah.
like sort of basically pushing aside all these sequels that we had. You know, I get why they do it, but like I said, it's cool what they did, and you're seeing Michael old as shit. You know, he's old now. But Jamie Lee Curtis was really good in it. I really liked her. There's a couple of little things that was maybe didn't make sense. They were trying to add a bit more humor to it, but the Halloween movies weren't really humorous. They were always pretty scary. But I could see why they were trying to do that. But still liked it. I can't wait till I think it's Halloween Kills is actually coming out in October this year. Is the new direct sequel to that one? There's
Fingers crossed.
yeah. Yeah, well, it was supposed to come out last year, dude, but now they're making Halloween Kills and another one back to back. So this one's out this year, and the other one's out the following year. So,
Not
but
so
yeah,
bad then.
yeah, but yeah. I mean, not only that, Jamie Lee Curtis is like, you know, she's like this vulnerable girl in the first film, and then later on down, like all this shit's happened to her in the years. She's learned how to defend herself and always like put a guard up now. You can't trust these what's going to happen. So and it's good. I like what they did. I like what they did with that. That's cool. All right, so I think we talked about 30-40 minutes about Halloween.
Yep.
But but like I said, if you haven't watched those movies, you need to watch those movies because they're the granddaddies of the slasher era, like Halloween. And then if you didn't have Halloween, you wouldn't have Friday the 13th. Simple as that. Like Friday, Halloween had opened the gateway for all these slasher horror movies that just came out. I mean, there was slasher films prior, but a movie that just took off. Like it was like when Jaws was like the first official blockbuster movie. It came out in the 70s. Like people were in droves to watch that movie, and that movie was like the biggest blockbuster film of all time until Star Wars came along. So, so yeah, Halloween. So you said about Halloween. What would you say would be another film that you loved watching as like a horror film that you loved watching as a kid, maybe?
Shit, man. I watched a lot of them. I loved People Under the Stairs.
Oh my god, I
That
love that one. That was such a great movie.
that was a great movie. Poltergeist, Pet
Yeah,
Cemetery.
Pet Sematary is good.
That was some of my favorites.
Poltergeist was
God, man,
creepy.
I loved all the classics. Bram Stoker's Dracula with
I
Keanu
saw
Reeves.
that. I
Even
saw
though
that in
the
the cinemas.
accents,
Yeah, his acting was terrible, but the movie is so stylized. It's so
the
beautifully
movie
filmed.
is bitching.
Oh
And
my
I'm telling
god.
you right now,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of movies that stay close to the book and do a
Mm,
good job of
mm.
being
Yeah. He did a
what
great
the
job.
book brings. That movie was so fucking spot on, man.
Yeah.
Again, besides the accents, um, it was spot on. That movie, I was obsessed with that movie for a long.
I went to the cinemas to watch that with my friend, and when I heard about this Bram Stoker, because I was really obsessed. I was going through a phase where I liked vampire movies, and I was still
Yep,
getting
me
into
too.
vampire films. Lost Boys, Fright Night, Near Dark, great. Those are probably my top three vampire films of all time. If you haven't seen Near Dark, watch it. Cowboy Western vampire film. It's awesome. It's got Bill Paxton, Lance Henriksen. It's so fucking awesome. Fright Night, love that movie, and of course Lost Boys. But when Bram Stoker's Dracula was coming out, I heard about this. I liked Gary Oldman already. I heard so much about Gary Oldman. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna knock this out of the park, being Dracula. Um,
Mm.
and also Anthony Hopkins as Van Helsing was great. But the way he filmed it, like the practical effects they actually did the practical effects on set, which was amazing. Like a lot of these practical visuals effects that you're seeing, there weren't a lot of the stuff was not done after the film was done. A lot of this they'd done on screen as it was happening. They were trying to make it look like the special effects they did in the 1920s and 30s in films, where they had like a visual background and stuff. So they were doing that,
Yes.
like all these little miniatures and filming over the miniatures and stuff. So it's beautifully filmed. Like the visuals are fantastic. Also the music too. I love the music. The theme was like pump, and that was pumping through the cinemas. We loved it. We loved it. And but like you said, Keanu Reeves acting in this one. You bloody vampires! It's like what the hell, dude? Oh
Christian.
yes, blimmin'. It's like oh my god, it's so terrible. And also, Winona Ryder wasn't as bad as Keanu Reeves, but she had a few moments where I thought, she's a bit wooden. But overall, great film, good vibe, fantastic vampire movie. It's a visually stunning film, and like if you got like it on 4K or something, watch that shit. It's amazing. Um, but yeah, like I got to say, like I was a huge fan of vampire films, but I also like the cheesy, corny horror movies that were like Z grade budget, like your Ghoulies, Critters. Um, there's just so many of them. Like there's like when yeah,
Outer Space.
oh yeah, fuck yeah. There was just so many movies out there that were just cheese, but you couldn't help watch them. That was
You
a
know what
guilty pleasure.
movie? You know a movie that I feel like not a lot of people my age or anybody younger than me
Mhm.
would appreciate anymore, but I loved growing up. The Fly.
With Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a fantastic
that
movie. Yeah,
that was a great movie, and that shit was fucking creepy, dude.
yeah.
Like that movie was straight up creepy.
The
I
visual
fucking
effects in that movie are amazing.
yeah.
That
Oh, so we got to talk about this movie real quick. I just thought of
no, it's
something.
okay.
Sorry.
No, I love The Fly. We can talk about
All
that
right,
movie.
but Event Horizon.
Oh yeah,
How
that's a
badass was
great
that
movie.
movie?
That movie was like Hellraiser in space.
Yeah,
That's a
it,
fucking great movie.
that's another movie that fucked with me as a kid, man.
Hmm.
Event Horizon, and it's still a movie. I went back and I watched it
Mm-hmm.
probably like a year or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
Still holds pretty fucking well,
It's
man.
really good. It's a great movie. And you know what's really sad about that movie is like I was watching because I watch a lot of documentaries about movies or snippets about films that I liked, and I want to know more information about it. So I'll go on to YouTube. I'll watch reviews or behind the scenes stuff. So Event Horizon is a really good one because Wes Anderson, who directed that movie, who did the Mortal Kombat film, and the Mortal Kombat film did really well. So he's like, oh, look, I don't want to do another Mortal Kombat movie. He didn't want to do another sequel to Mortal Kombat. So he wanted to work on Event Horizon. They gave him some money, but they said, oh, this movie's too long. You got to cut some stuff out. So he's cut. That he wanted to do a special edition of this movie, and I think it was at Universal Studios. One of them had a major fire, so a lot of the footage was burnt, and they lost all this footage from Event Horizon. But apparently, there's some footage laying in somewhere. But apparently, people have been begging and pleading for years to do the full uncut version of Event Horizon to explain the story a little bit better. But that movie is really good, and what I love about that movie is you got was it Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill, really good uh, character actor, character actors, and
Yeah.
and every actor, like every person, you don't feel like, oh, that person's gonna die first. You know how you watch a horror movie and you just guess who's gonna die first. You don't really know. You sort of like get a whole little story about all these people, and there's some good acting in there. It's a really good act. Lawrence Fishburne, honestly, is fucking awesome in that movie because like I like when they're watching the screen and they're seeing what happened in the ship and they look into the projectors where people are just fucking hacking each other and he goes, he does the most awesome things. We're leaving. We're not staying in this mother. We're out of here. We're not sticking around. That is like the most realistic response to what you just seen. They wouldn't be like, oh no, we should stay and find out what else happened. No, we're getting the fuck out of
No,
here.
get the fuck
You
out.
know, and I
No,
like that.
Lawrence Fishburne slayed that role because you got a good sense of like, yeah, this is a captain who actually
Yeah,
cares about his crew. Like he
yeah,
wants to make sure to get the fuck out of there. He wanted to
yeah,
get the job done.
yeah,
He went there. He found out shit went bad. That's when he wanted to get
yeah.
out of there. Um, but yeah, just a great film, and it reminded me so much of kind of like Doom.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like it kind of
Like
reminded
the
me of
visual style in a way, and also the
yeah,
blood and gore and shit as well. Yeah, they're good
yeah,
at it. Yeah,
and like the
yeah.
interdimensional stuff like
Mm.
that. To me, like it reminded me a lot of that. Great fucking film.
It's very underrated. Very underrated, I
Yeah,
think.
very underrated. And you know, speaking of underrated
Mm.
movies,
Mm.
fucking Phantoms, dude. Ben Affleck.
Fetters is the bum, yo.
Ben Phantoms is a bomb, dude.
Ben
Yeah,
Affleck is a
man.
bomb in Phantoms. Yeah, bro.
Funny story about watching that movie. All right, so this was
Mm.
at a point in time where we had a fucking a cable box
Yep,
for the house.
yep.
My parents used to go out every weekend and go dancing and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so my brother was watching me for the weekend.
Yep.
And he was like, yo, there's this movie I've been wanting to watch. I'll let you watch it. Just fucking don't be a bitch. Right. And like that's
Don't be a little bitch. Be a man.
yeah.
Yeah, I get the old story. Yep.
Bro, and so we watched that movie and there was like a specific scene where like this motherfucker looks down a drain
Mm.
and some shit comes up at
Yeah.
him. And like drains were like emphasized in that movie.
Mm.
My brother, right, as soon as the movie's over,
Mm.
my brother's like, all right, I'll be right back. I gotta go do something real quick.
Mm.
And so he leaves, and I'm in this house alone and shit like that, and I have to go to the bathroom. But I'm like, man, I don't want to go to the bathroom until he's back. What if I get fucking grabbed up by the drain? I was
Yeah.
so fucking scared, man.
You know what?
Oh,
I haven't seen Phantoms in a long time. But do you just saying that? You know, the other day, I said to my son, like, he'll watch stuff that I'll watch, which is cool. And he has,
mhm.
and what I love about my son, he appreciates what we're watching. Like he'll get understand why I like this film. So I think he's a little bit like me in a way. Well, not a little bit. He's a lot like me, poor kid. So I said to Tyler, I want you to watch this film that I used to love as a kid in the 80s called The Blob, the remake of The Blob. And he goes, oh, all right. And I said, no, just watch it, like all the practical effects and stuff. So we sat there and watched it. And he loved it. He thought, oh my God, that was really cool. And when you said about the drain, there was a scene in the remake of The Blob where they're trapped in a sewer and they drive the car over the manhole, and he's stuck there. But he's got this bazooka, and he just shoots the bazooka up, and blows up the manhole, and they climb up there, and the blob comes out. But the way they did the blob effects were amazing. Like the original 1950s blob was just jelly, like fucking poured down,
Yeah.
But this one was really good. Like the practical effects are amazing. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen the remake of the Blob in the 80s one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
see the
Yeah, it's really awesome. I love it. It's just cheesy, fun, and like it's attacking the cinemas and killing everybody. But I like that. I like how people think, well, how are we going to do this thing? Like another clever scene is, like they're speaking of John Carpenter again, is The Thing. Now that movie is fucking one of my all-time favorite sci-fi horror films of all time. It's just so good. What I loved about that film is like the amazing effects. It's just creepy. You don't know who, and that's sort of like a movie, like it's like a who done it or who is the thing,
yeah.
and
It's
everyone,
like
and you
it's
got
like
that
full on
paranoia.
steroids.
Yeah, you got this real paranoia thing happening. Oh, he looks a bit weird, but it's not him. It was someone else. And it just like that cabin fever s type thing about it. And that's like
Mm.
I would watch that movie. I've watched that movie so many times when I was a kid. I got it on Blu-ray now. But yeah, that was like one of my all-time favorite horror films. Just the special effects as well were amazing. And they were so creative too, guys. There's a scene, when he's got the defibrillators and he's pushing that guy on the chest, and his chest opens up and chews up his arms.
Yeah.
The scene where they chew up his arms, they actually got a person who've actually lost his arms in an accident, right? So they put this prosthetics, they put these prosthetics there where he looks like his arms bitten off. And of course, he doesn't look like the person who's got his face, like his arms bitten off. So what they did is they did a face mold of the guy, stuck it on this guy's face, this face mold. Like, I mean, nowadays it's easy. You just put the 3D image of him with a CGI, but they were being creative. They stuck this face mold on his face. It's only a brief second, but it looks like the guy. I did not know they did that for years. And I just found out how they did that effect. And it's like, that's fucking creative. That's thinking out of your head, like, how are we going to make this scene look realistic? And they didn't use any CGI or any of that shit. They were just being creative. And another thing, too, like with the blob, there's a scene where the thing just looks like it's just covering him in the car. And what they did is they actually tilted the car at an angle and put the camera down and let the stuff just ooze down on him. So it looked like it was lunging at him. So just those little things, I appreciate that so much in a film where they think out of the box. But nowadays it's like, we'll just CGI that in,
Yeah.
And I think that's the real. I think that films have, in a way, have lost that magic where you think, oh, how do they do that? Because now it's CGI. It's it's so easy to add on that. And I think that's the real shame about films nowadays. It's like they lose that magic with all the CGI and special effects. But it's why I appreciate, like, even nowadays when someone adds practical effects, because you think, oh, that looks so realistic. So that's the thing I really miss, like, especially horror films. Because horror films back in the day, man, like, they didn't have, like, a huge budget. They had to be creative. They had blood squirt out of someone's hand like this, but it looked cool. And, like, monster effects as well. I mean, look, speaking of monsters, though, like, out of all the monster movies that's been out there back in the day, was there a particular monster that you was quite partial to?
Oh, I mean, if I had to choose out of like all the classics,
Mm.
Dracula,
Oh, yeah.
hands down. But besides him, just adding because we talked about Bram Stoker's, Werewolf, man.
Oh, the werewolf is
Like,
classic, yeah.
yeah, like my dad used to be obsessed with the old school. Well, he loved like the Dracula movies too, right?
Yeah.
But like werewolf stuff, he was obsessed with, and I'll never forget. He used to have this werewolf man, like straight, basically from like the movie, but it was a glow in the dark mask. All right,
Yeah, I've heard about these
He used to-
masks.
dude, he used to put that shit on for Halloween and like hang out and stuff, man. And it was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that and just like watching this man transform and just go crazy, become this beast, like it freaked you the fuck out, man.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, this is enough for me. So yeah, honestly, I think
Mm.
Werewolf, that's up there. The Mummy,
Oh,
I
definitely, yeah.
know I
Definitely.
specifically watched like a lot of the remakes. I never watched the black and white one, but
Mm.
the Mummy, that's one of mine. And
That's
then of course the Swamp Thing or Creature from Black Lagoon.
yeah.
I feel like I feel like to me, just because I was always a kid, I loved water. Like
Mm.
I'd always be swimming in a lake, in a
Mm.
river, in the ocean, in a
Mm.
pool, and just the concept of something underneath you
Mm.
brushing up against you, fucking
That's
with you.
scary. Yeah, that would fuck with you any day. Like those,
Yeah.
I remember. I don't know if you remember those movies called the Piranha films. We had the little
Yeah.
fish, and they would attack you. I mean, I know they did a recent remakes. Piranha in 3D were just over the top blood splatter films, and they were more comedy than horror. But back in the day, the original 80 ones were kind of creepy. And then they had flying piranhas too. The piranhas were flying and biting on them. And you know what's scary? Like that flying piranhas too, like that was biting people in it. It looks so blatantly stupid. Did you know who directed that movie? It was Jim
Mm.
Cameron. Jim fucking Cameron, who did Terminator 2, True Lies, Titanic, made piranhas, flying piranhas too. I could not,
I'm
but you
pretty
got to
sure
start
he's
from
the right
somewhere.
track.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. And
Mm.
Avatar, like he's made the most highly successful films of all time, and his movie was Flying Piranhas too. But
Yeah, you hear that guy who
yeah,
made Sharknado? You could fucking be the next Jim
yeah,
Cameron.
yeah,
Down,
exactly,
dude. Just keep
exactly. I
going
mean,
for it, man.
yeah, reach for
Keep
the skies,
dreaming.
bitch. But you got to start from somewhere. But like, um, I would say yeah, definitely the Wolfman, zombies. Like I love. I mean, that's another. You got like, but the problem with zombies now is like they're so overdone now. They're so overdone.
Well,
But
the problem with zombies is they're overdone, but they always try to do more to them,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
it's not necessary. The concept of something coming back to life and being fucking undead and just
mm,
stopping at
mm,
nothing to eat your brains out, it's pretty
mm,
fucking
yeah,
scary. Like you don't
yeah,
have to. They don't need to be like government controlled things.
mm,
They don't need to be
mm,
like. Just give me old school classic Romero zombies,
mm,
or
mm,
hear me out. Give me Dawn of the Dead remake zombies where they're
mm.
super fast and freaky as
That
shit,
was
man. And
actually
you're
really
like
good. That Dawn of the
the
Dead remake
hey,
was really good.
best horror remake ever.
Yeah, that was
Name
really
me
good.
another horror remake that's been done that's better. Because I would love to hear it. And
Honestly, I
actually,
watched the
since I'm
shit out of
taking
that
you
movie
down,
when it came out, man. I watched the shit out of that because, like, I remember seeing Dawn of the Dead, the first one, and I loved it. I liked it. It was creative. It's really good. And then when I heard about the remake, it's like, oh, this would be interesting. And they just done it as like a straightforward zombie movie where these fuckers are fast, they're vicious. Like like if you had those,
man.
I think they were the last real scary type zombies. Now
Yeah.
they're just like gun fodder, headshot, headshot. But yeah, the zombie genre is just so saturated. And like you said beforehand, they try to add so much to the zombie movies. Oh, these ones are from space. Oh, these ones were created by the government. Oh, these ones can drive cars now. Like these ones can fly a fucking plane. Oh, this one can use a gun now. Like if you just keep it simple, just keep it
Yeah.
simple. They're slow,
And
yeah, slow or fast, they will fuck you up. You know?
and you know what's funny is like before
Mm,
this past year now, I
mm,
used to watch zombie movies and I'd be like, man, there's no way the like general public would allow things to get that out of hand before it could get out of control. And
mm.
then COVID happened and I was like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, I
it
can see
might
how the
actually
zombie.
happen. Might
Yeah, I can
actually
see how
happen.
these zombie
Yeah.
apocalypse because you would have these fucking idiots that are like, man, them zombies ain't brother. Them is just controlled by the bleeding heart liberals to take away your freedoms,
You're
man.
trying to
Like
take
that's
away
the
my
shit.
guns.
Yeah, fucking China's at it again, brother. They're trying to take
China did
everything
this.
from us.
China
Yeah,
brought the zombie epidemic.
fucking. That's
Honestly,
that's what we deal
that
with, man.
that is the most scariest person. Is a person that's scared. Is a scared person. Is a dumb person.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, but that's the thing. That's kind of brings us into to the point, right? Like horror movies,
Mm,
they're fun because everybody loves that thrill of not knowing what might happen or what's
mm,
out there or something
mm.
supernatural
Yeah.
or a psycho killer slasher,
Yeah.
right? Like everybody has those fears, and there's something about being able to live in that reality for that
Mm,
moment
mm.
that is just it gets your adrenaline going. Like most people live a very mundane life, right? They go
Mm-hmm.
to they work, they
Mm-hmm.
come back home. You watch a horror movie, you get that adrenaline that you normally wouldn't get on your day to day basis,
Yeah.
and you're on edge, you're gripping your chair, you're like, run,
The
motherfucker, run! What
fuck?
are you
Get out
doing?
of here, you best.
Yeah,
Or
fucking put
barricading
the
a
bulb
door and
out,
handcuffs
stoner,
to
and
the
get the fuck out of
yeah.
there. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Or someone you know, and you've seen this cliched scene like every time. Right, we'll just go down the basement and we'll hide there. Don't go down there. You got nowhere else to escape, you stupid fucker. We'll go to the attic. We'll be all right. But you've seen this done 100 times in a movie, and then you. But that's how they get you. Or you see that. Oh, don't go down that stairs, you stupid fuck. You're gonna get fucked up. He's
yeah,
waiting for you down there. Like, and
yeah.
also, I think we've forgotten one of the most important horror films is The Evil Dead. Like the Evil Dead, dude. Like
Yes,
that is like
I
what?
actually have it on my notes. Good
Yeah, oh,
sir.
there you
Yeah,
go. The Evil
yeah.
Dead is one of those films I almost forgot. Like I watched that as a young age, and that one also fucked with me because oh and behold, like I know a lot of people watch Evil Dead 2, have watched the TV series, watched Evil Dead 3, and they think it's like a comical feature. But if you watch the very first one, wasn't very comical. It was very bloody. It was very
Very dark.
scary. Very dark film. I wasn't too keen on the reboot. I mean, I could appreciate what they were trying to do, but it just felt like, man, you gotta have fucking Bruce Campbell. It ain't no Evil Dead without Bruce Campbell. I'm sorry. I like what they were trying to do with it, but it just felt flat to me. But the original is great because that's another movie where made on a really super low budget, made a shitload of money afterwards, and it was being creative. It just did these creative shots. The effects are great.
Well,
It's just
it
super
was cool too
creepy.
because like
Mm,
what was it, Army of Darkness, right? He goes back
yeah,
into like
yeah,
medieval times
yeah.
essentially,
Oh yeah,
and this dude with a fucking shotgun and a chainsaw,
yeah,
like just going in and tearing apart
yeah.
these
Sharp,
monsters, man.
smart,
Like,
sharp, as smart.
yeah, dude, like how can you not love it?
Yeah.
And I did watch some of the series. The series was okay.
I didn't mind it. I watched most of season. I watched all of season one, and I've nearly finished watch season two, or I'm on
Yeah,
three.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I watched it. It was great, but it's just like I don't know, man. I want to keep my memory
To
of Evil Dead
the
where it
movies.
is with
Yeah,
those
that's
movies.
understandable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's kind of where I'm
yeah.
going with. But I have a question for you then,
Mm,
because we've talked about stuff that we grew up on.
yeah.
What's a horror movie that you've seen in the past couple years, or a horror series that you've seen in the past couple years that you were like, you know what, that was actually really well done?
Something I've seen recently.
Yeah,
Or some.
something that's new.
I would say definitely The Conjuring was really good.
Okay.
Um. Um. But also, The Descent is that's the early 2000s, mid 2000s, which was a really decent horror film. And not only that, your protagonists are all female, pretty much all women.
Yeah.
And that movie is really on the edge. Like you got these creatures. What I liked about that movie too is you don't know any idea what the fuck those things are. What are they doing down there? How long they've been down there. There's no information. You just know that these women are trapped down this fucking dark ass cave with these blind cannibalistic motherfuckers, and they got to get out of there. That was a great movie, and not only that, and how people will turn on each other when they're scared for their own lives, because like that girl fucks her friend over just to get away,
Yeah.
and the other chick finds out that she'd done that, like she lied. I really liked that movie. I really did, and even the sequel was really good. I liked that too. It was like a good follow up. Um, uh, I was kind of disappointed with. I mean, I liked World Z, but I didn't because it was nothing like the book. Like the book, like you said, slow moving zombies. All these zombies were fast, and it didn't really have like that blood element to it. Like if you're having a zombie movie, you gotta have fucking blood and gore. Just because it's got Brad Pitt in it means like okay, we've got Brad Pitt in this. We're gonna really make this bankable and make more bums on seats. We'll lessen the blood. I think you need to like you got to stick to the source sometimes, and that's why it's so popular
I
because
will
of its
say
sort.
this
Yeah,
though.
mm,
That scene where they're in that embassy
yeah,
and the people are playing drums or whatever, and the
mm.
zombies start going up that wall.
Oh yeah, it's cool.
That That was actually pretty
Yeah,
bitchin'.
it was
But
pretty
yeah,
cool.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
World War Z, but the thing is, I think a book like that,
Mm,
just because it's jumping around so much,
mm,
if you wanted to do World War Z on screen, that would be something you would have to do as a series because you would
yeah.
there's so many different stories that you bounce back and forth
Yeah.
between. It's kind of
Yeah.
like Game of Thrones, right? Like
Yeah. It's a back and
if
forth a
they
lot.
would
Yeah.
have doing Game of Thrones as a movie, it would have been more
Mm,
disappointing than season.
mm,
But with World War Z, you just there's so many different stories and so many things
mm,
that are tied in but separate that are
mm.
parallel.
Yeah.
It's just it's too much to
Yeah.
cover. I think they did the best they could with trying to do a movie
That's it. It's still a
adaptation.
fun film. It's actually a fun movie. I
Just
liked
like you
it.
said, it just the zombies, the way they changed them, it was I don't know.
I feel like they're a bit washed out. Like they look like a zombie, but they just didn't feel like that. The classic
Well, there
zombie.
was too much emphasis on CGI, and I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
my whole thing is this is like okay with Dawn of the Dead, the reason it works so well is because the majority of zombies you saw on screen
Mm.
were actual actors, right?
Yeah.
There
The
was a couple
practical
things where they had
effects.
their CGI and stuff like
Mm.
that, but
Mm.
for the most part, it was like real actors,
Mm.
right? And
Mm.
the zombies were fast and they were kind of
Mm.
intelligent in Dawn of the Dead,
Mm.
and it was the
Mm.
same thing with this, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like with the World War Z zombies being as smart as they were, being able to climb on top of
Mm.
each other and basically be like Velociraptor 2.0s.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, it would have been much better to see like smaller, more concentrated groups, right? Like
mm.
a 28 days later type, right?
Oh
Where
my
like
god!
you
Now
got a
that's
cast
yeah.
of like
Those movies are
15,
fucking
20 of them.
fantastic. Yeah.
Dude, those movies are phenomenal.
Yeah.
When it comes to zombie films.
Yeah. That were
For
those
me
ones that
though,
flipped them. That's the one that really flipped it too. That's another series I would be
yeah,
definitely put up my, especially the first one. But like the second one has one of the best, most intense get the fuck away from those zombie scenes where they're all trapped in that house and that kid comes in the door and then it tracks the noise and then like he leaves his wife, Robert Carlyle leaves his missus and he's just
yeah.
running for his own life. You can't blame him. He's fucking shit scared. And that's what it does to you. Like you don't know how you're gonna react when you're shit scared. You might not protect your loved one. You might just go and protect yourself. And that's what I liked about shows like that and movies like that, where it shows the true side of human nature. It's not like just written black and white. It's showing how someone might actually
He's gonna
react.
make sure to save his girlfriend.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
no,
yeah. He
motherfucker,
fucking
your life
saved
is
his
on the
life,
line.
and then it makes you like. Then you have a conflict because it'll make people talk about the movie. Man, he should have gone back and helped his girlfriend. He should have helped his missus, but he didn't. He was just saving his own ass.
You talk about 28 months later or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
How would
great
it be, to
movie.
be
It's a
honest?
great movie, and
very fun.
and not only that, like the first one, the 28 Days Later, um, great character development. Like you like the characters in that movie, and then when he meets that older guy with his daughter, and then he gets that
Yeah,
blood in it, and he's like, "Get the fuck away from me! I'm changing." You actually felt sorry for him because I really like
yeah.
that guy. You care for the characters, and that's when you like know that you like a movie or way it was filmed when they write and develop their characters well. And that is 28 days later, 20 months later. I know they're planning on a third one, but it's still like a long way away. Um,
Yeah, it's unfair.
which is
But just to
unfair.
say, four movies I've seen recently
Hmm.
that I just want to recommend. Train to Busan,
Oh yeah, that was fantastic.
great
Train to Busan is
great
great.
film,
Yeah, it's a great
one of
zombie
the best
movie.
movies.
Yeah,
I believe it's called Alive, but it might be called something else. It's another Korean zombie movie,
is that the
but
one where
it's
the guy's
about
is he trapped in his house or his apartment?
like his apartment, a high-rise
Yeah, I've
apartment.
seen it. It's good.
Um,
I liked it.
that was phenomenal. And
Mm.
then it's a series, Haunting of Hill House.
I have not
That
watched it. I
was
have not actually watched
you
it.
you need to watch it because I've only watched it once and I'm pissed at myself I haven't watched it again because the thing is it's not only a great supernatural and it doesn't do
Mm,
like there's a lot of jump scares and a lot
mm,
of like your typical supernatural shots,
mm,
but there is so much like subtle clues and details in
mm,
the background
mm,
and so much explanation in the background that
mm.
like just knowing what I found out at the end of it, I need to go back just to watch it
I'll
again. And
have to
I love
watch that. I
it.
will watch that. Actually, you
You and
said
Tyler definitely check it
me and
out.
Tyler would like it. Okay, I'll definitely watch it. Okay, there's one movie I have watched recently that was a horror film, and I really, really liked it because like I was very skeptical about it, and that is Doctor Sleep, the sequel to The Shining. Have you watched
I
that
don't
yet?
think I saw that.
Man, you need to
No.
fucking watch that movie, man. It is fucking good. It is really, really good. Even Tyler was like, "Nah, God, you look like you dirty little fucking." But
No,
it,
it's pretty good though.
it's really good because we were very skeptical about it. It was like, oh my god, that's some really big shoes to fill. Not only is it based on a Stephen King book, Stanley fucking Kubrick directed the original movie, and it's got like all the style and the substance and this creepiness and eeriness, and you think where they're going to go with this, and it's just really well filmed. It's really done really well, and it explains like the first film quite a bit,
Yeah.
what happened and stuff like. I won't say too much about it, but the acting is top notch. Ewan McGregor's great in it. He's really, really good. Honestly, it's really good. It's a long movie, but there's some really, really good stuff in it. And I thought that was a. I said, I'm not going to say it's as good as the first one. It's just like its own film. You know what I mean? And
I
it's
prefer it more than the first one.
now I really, really liked it, and I've watched it
See,
twice. I watched it twice.
I'm
I
glad
really
that you
liked
brought
it.
that up.
Even the
'Cause
first one.
that The Shining is a
Mm.
movie that I was thinking about that I had actually that was part of my notes.
Yeah.
The Shining. I don't. I feel like that's a movie. Even when I'm 40, 50, 60 years old, I'm
Mm.
still gonna go back and watch. Even though it's kind of like dated cinematography,
Mm.
but it's just such a creepy story and so well done,
And the
so well
music
made.
too. Where do you hear
The
a sound?
music,
Where do you hear a soundtrack
but
like that nowadays?
What, The
Never.
Shining?
Of The Shining, yeah.
nowhere.
It's like
But
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
but I just gotta say the two standout scenes for me in The Shining,
Mm-hmm.
for me personally, everybody is
Mhm.
different.
Mm.
But the bathtub scene in room 1128 or whatever it was,
Yeah.
that shit fucked with me because I went from
Yeah.
having a boner to being angry that I had a boner.
You had a boner.
Yeah. Yeah, so then it was a boner to an angry boner. So
Yeah.
like, shout out to you, you asshole. You had me
Yeah.
fucking like going from like I might
Yeah.
have to fucking hit the pause screen and like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to ever
No.
fucking.
No.
And then the ending, man, where it's
Mm.
a picture. I don't know what. It's such a
Jack
simple
Nicholson.
shot.
The Jack Nicholson smiling. It's creepy as fuck.
Yeah, it's like it's such a
creepy.
simple shot, but like the music playing, and then
Mhm.
just like the idea and the premise that like
Mm.
this motherfucker is like Jack Nicholson's person. Like he's not a person. It's an entity.
Mm.
And it's been fucking with this family the whole time, dude. Like
I
this building has
Mm.
become so powerful that that's what it's done.
I think you
Isn't
will.
it
I
like
think you will definitely
Netflix?
like Doctor Sleep, man. You need to watch it. I think it's on Amazon Prime at this
Mm.
stage or Netflix. Watch it, dude. It's like 2.5 hours, but fuck, it's good. And Tyler bought it for
I'll
me on
just check it
Blu-ray.
out.
Honestly, dude, watch it. Please let me know what you think of it, because like honestly, it was so underrated because it came out and it didn't do very well. It's like it did okay, and then it went. But now people are starting to pick it up on DVD and Blu-ray and go and say, "Hey, you need to watch this. This is actually really." And you know that House
Yeah.
on Haunted Hill where you was telling me about? The guy who made that show did this movie.
Oh, bitchin'.
It's really creepy, man. It's a fucking good movie. It's really good.
Yeah, no, like I said, Haunting of Hill House, that was great. Shit,
Okay,
you
I'm
know
gonna.
that movie? I was showing you the HBO, the All the Little Things with Denzel
Yeah,
and Jared
Denzel.
Leto.
Yeah. I wanna. Yeah, I'm gonna.
I watched that.
Was it good?
I watched that today. I liked it.
Yeah, I love Denzel.
I like,
Fucking
dude.
Denzel is
Denzel slays every role he does, bro.
Denzel is so good. Like I loved him.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry. I just got
well,
excited.
No, no, you're right. Like he is just one of those actors. Like I don't give a fuck what he's in. He could be reading a shopping list and I'd watch it. Like he's just so
Oh, for
good.
sure.
Like he was,
Mhm.
he was in a horror movie that was it Fallen with the bodies, the demons and shit. That was good. That was a great movie. Yeah, but that was actually a really decent film. And I
You know,
liked, yeah,
I loved Fallen, man. And I remember
Yeah.
I had a Discord night, and then we were wanting to watch a horror movie,
yeah,
and everybody was talking about like, oh, I want to watch Conjuring, and like, all
Yeah.
the stuff that's come out now.
yeah.
And I was like, that's cool and all, but like, I want to show you guys something that you probably never seen. So it's like,
Mm.
have you guys seen the movie Fallen?
Mm,
And they were like, what the fuck is
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
I was like, okay, we're watching that.
Mm.
And that movie,
mm-hmm.
Denzel, first of all, slays that role.
Yeah, I haven't seen that
And
movie in
just,
such
like,
a long time. John Goodman's in it
that
as well, isn't he?
Yeah, John Goodman, James Gandolfini in
James
it too.
Gandolf. Is he? Is he in that movie?
Yeah,
Fuck.
He was in that movie, dude.
Fuck. I know.
Straight up. And his sister is in that movie too.
Really?
Janice. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll have to check that
Yeah.
out. I have to watch it again. I think
Fucking
Tyler and I
nice.
will have to watch it. What is it, Tyler?
Tilda Hershey's jumper is actually pretty cool.
Tyler said your jumper's pretty sick. We were just
Oh yeah,
telling
dude. Fucking
fucking
Gambit, son.
baby.
Yeah, I got
Look, he's got
Starscream
Starscream t-shirt. I
And I'm,
got
and I'm
Darth
rocking
Vader.
my merch.
He's got his hat.
You know?
Yep. Dude, bitching. But yeah, I'll have to watch Fallen. Dude, actually, we should watch a movie together. That's what we should do. We'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
But Fallen is that's what I'm saying. It's like horror movies or suspenseful films. Nowadays, everyone's. I think it's this generation. It's like I want it now. I want to be scared now. Bring it now. You know, pizzazz, bang, bang, and like we was talking about the atmosphere, the build up. Exactly, Tyler. The build up of your moustache. But yeah, you gotta have that build up. And also another film that I really liked that came out some years ago. Oh, not like old, but it's an Australian indie film called The Babadook. Have you watched that?
That was
yet?
a good one.
That was
Yeah,
really
that was
good
good.
because
I didn't care for the ending.
Hmm?
I will say that I didn't care for the ending.
Yeah, but that was a movie that sort of played on mental health with like her because she's obviously going through some trauma, and you don't know what's going on. So that's I liked where that movie went. But I think that's where and as always, indie films always pave the way of creativity and like stuff like that's what we're getting. So when a low budget horror film comes out, like being a bit more creative and something out of the box that you can watch, such as Halloween, like that was an indie film, you know, cost fuck all to make, and it became a huge blockbuster.
Wasn't Nightmare on Elm Street another one of those horror franchises that was like super
Wes
huge to make?
Craven actually had a dream.
And Saw and stuff.
And Saw is another film. Like Wes Craven had a dream about someone with like claws for fingers, and that's where he wrote the story. And a lot of his stories, like a lot of his movies that he wrote, would be about dreams that he had. Same thing with People on the Stairs. He read something about it, like a newspaper article about people hiding all these people under the house, and that's where that story came from. And that's another director, Wes Craven. Made some great horror films, like the Scream franchise, for instance. Like the Scream franchise was huge. It brought back the slasher movies back in the 90s. Like when Scream came out, there was all these slasher films coming back.
I will say this. I'm glad you brought it up. I was going to say it earlier. I think Scream was one of those things that did bring back slashers, but it was also kind of the death of the slashing genre. I mean, after the second Scream, people were kind of fucking done with it.
Yeah.
At that point, we had been absorbed so much, and that's kind of like I said, I think that was kind of the last hurrah of horror slasher that you and I have come to love, right?
Yeah.
Because after that, we started getting introduced to like the Rob Zombie-esque horror, where instead of this Hollywood horror take, it's a lot more gritty and dirty and you know, a little bit more real.
Well, The Devil's Rejects is a Rob Zombie movie that I really liked. I love
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, I didn't like. I was not too keen on the House of a Thousand Corpses. It wasn't really. I felt like it was more of a grindhouse movie, which I know he was going for. But Devil's Rejects was a bit more like had more realistic approach, and those characters were more explained. I thought. I haven't seen the most recent one he did. I know there's a third one. I have not watched that. I don't know why I haven't watched that.
Man, you mentioned the grindhouse, and it reminded me. There was I think it was called like Funhouse, but there was like a horror collection company still around or not, but they had this. It was like a collection of short horror stories, and I'll never forget this one. And if somebody's watching this and you know it, type it in the comments, please. But it was this police precinct, right? And it was this lady who was working overnight shift with a couple other people, and this guy gets brought in who was like a serial killer, and he would eat people. He was this cannibal.
And if he ate someone, he would be them or something, or have a piece of them.
Essentially,
I
yeah. And
watched
there was
that,
like a
dude.
part where he became
Yeah,
like one of the cops, and like
yeah,
he's fucking with them. He's
well,
like eating human organs on a
yeah,
pizza and shit.
yeah,
Like, dude, that short film, like you mentioned
yeah,
that, just made me
yeah,
think of it, and I almost
yeah.
forgot about that series. It
That
was
show
really
was really
fucking
cool
good.
because she ends up eating him.
Yeah.
I remember that show, man, because like they only did like a one season of that show, and I watched the whole thing, and I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was really cool. I really liked
Because
it.
there was that
That's a,
scene where she was in the locker room and stuff like that
yeah,
too, trying to
yeah,
hide from. Yeah,
yeah. I
it was,
remember
dude.
that.
It
It was
was such a
actually it was
good
a really bitchin' show. And
yeah.
same, but like I said beforehand, like there's, I think that's one thing about horror films is like when you're making a horror film, it's like the gloves are off. You can do what you want with a horror movie in a way. You know what I mean? It's your story. You can like, okay, we're doing a vampire movie, but we can change it to what we want to do. Like we can change things, and you know what? For the most part, people accept it unless they're doing Twilight.
What
the
sort of
Yeah.
you know, but there's been so many awesome horror films that are coming out, or well, from the past that I could talk about all bloody night. Um, but like I said beforehand, I like growing up as a kid in a small town. You'd get like a handful of horror films. Some were god awful bad, and some were really good, and some were classics. But like I said, I in the 80s it was like it was such an era where everything was coming because video was also like this big new market. I mean, where you could just make a movie and go directly to video. So there's so many video movies that coming out, like Attack of the Killer Clowns, Critters, Night of the Creeps, Fright Night. Also, speaking of vampire films, From Dusk Till Dawn, which is a great one. That is a
Fuck
really,
yeah.
that's a fucking badass movie. Because you don't know, because like if it's your first time watching that movie,
I think it's like an action movie.
you think it's an action cops and robbers film. And they go to this bar, you think they're going to exchange some money and get the fuck out of there, and then
It's actually
suddenly,
funny too.
it's hilarious. And then all these vampires with tits come out and attack them. Like, it's
Yeah, no
great.
pussy.
Yeah, we got chicken pussy, and if you pussy for a penny, and if you find anything that's cheaper, fuck it.
Yeah, dude, that's a very fucking line.
I fucking
Um,
love that movie, man. It's so
We
good.
didn't mention this movie. It was really corny and it had one
Yeah.
of the Baldwin brothers in it. John
Uh,
Carpenter's Vampires, dude.
Oh, that was great. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I think we got a
Dude,
boner for
I
John
still
Carpenter.
remember.
And James
I
Woods
still
was in that
remember.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, James Woods was in it, but
Yeah.
I still remember a
Vampires.
scene specifically. Like
Yeah.
they just got done hunting this house, right? And they're all
Yeah.
partying at this hotel,
Yeah.
fucking hookers
Yeah.
and shit.
Yeah.
And the fucking head honcho vampire
Vampire,
comes in
yeah.
and just
Knocks on the door.
butchers them, dude.
Yeah, and he puts his whole...
Butchers the shit
Yeah.
out of them.
Yeah. Actually, you know what's a good...
God.
You know what's a really cool vampire film? 30 Days of Night. Me and Tyler watched that last year.
Yeah,
that's
that was a
that
good one.
movie.
That was really good. That was an
That was a
awesome
bitch.
movie. That was a
Hey,
really
what about
good...
Bordello?
Hmm?
What about Bordello of Blood?
Yeah, I liked it. I did. I
Hey,
liked it.
it was cheesy. It was cheesy, but it was good, man. And then, because, look, man, I'll just say this: Dennis Miller's the biggest fucking cornball in the world.
He's such a dick in that movie, but he's funny.
Dude, he's such a fucking, like, such a tool. But, man, his character in that movie is just so funny and so great. And
He's
just, like...
He's like, not, he doesn't, like, give a fuck. There's, like, what... but,
Was
you know,
it?
speaking of Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Crypt, that Demon Night with Billy Zane.
That
wa-
was
that
actually
was
really good.
fucking
That's my
good.
favorite.
That was
That's my favorite,
Yeah,
dude.
that was so good. And, like, I got told... Because, like, I was saying to Tyler, we should watch this, because I love this movie. And he goes, no, all right. And then we end up watching it, and you end up liking it. Like, you liked The Blob, didn't you?
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. I really like the practical effects in that.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying
Yeah.
beforehand. Is like you appreciate that movie because like you can see they put an effort into the effects. Okay, story wise, it's a creature from outer space killing people. Okay, we get that. Now, how you going to interest me? Okay, that effect looked really cool, and I like that sort of stuff.
You just appreciate practical effects more often when they actually have like a budget and people really dedicate themselves towards it.
Yeah, but that's what they did with that movie. And same thing with The Fly. When we was talking about that, we sort of you was talking about The Fly beforehand. What I liked about The Fly is Jeff Goldblum's character is actually a really nice person. You know, he's
So
actually
this,
he,
like, disgusting
and then he
face.
changes into this thing that you can't help it. You know, he's now he's changing into a creature that has no remorse, that has no feelings. It's just about self-preservation, and it got to eat and got to breed, and the effects are just so awesome. And when he spewed on that guy's arm and leg, and like I remember being a kid just cringing the fuck out watching it. Like, fuck!
It's like when I made that joke.
Oh.
When I was you lost your shit at it when you were in bed, and I came up to you and I was like shaving stuff. I'm like, oh man, I hate neck hair and stuff like this. Little bumps. I feel like fucking Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. It's like he starts getting like the little hairs and stuff on his arms and shit like that.
But the way they did the effects in there, really good. I think it was nominated for an Academy Award. I think.
Like when he's seeing, he's just like, oh man, I feel bad for him, but fuck.
He looks fucking terrible, and he saw the dick in the jar. Remember when he opened up the medicine cabinet and you see his penis in a jar with his ears and nose and fucking armpit hair?
Someone made like a prosthetic dick.
Oh, yeah, he made his prosthetic. And I bet you if Jim goes, could you make that like really big? I have a.
Did you make it big?
Did you make that like a huge penis? Like
what's
huge...
that? Because I really like sci-fi horror and stuff like that.
Event Horizon,
really cool.
the one with.
No. I fucking love Event Horizon. That's cool.
Yeah, we were just talking about
that. But it's the only good Paul W.S. Anderson movies ever made.
Well, Mortal Kombat was good. We were just talking about Mortal Kombat.
I don't know. Like an actual serious movie though.
Well, we're not talking about Predator versus Aliens because like.
He made those?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But it's like you're saying like, oh, they find this ship and it's got all these cannibals on it and stuff. It's.
I haven't watched that movie.
Like early 2000s one.
Yeah, but we haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I know, but I want to watch it because it sounds fucking interesting.
Yeah, because like they go to the future, and geez, I gotta find that movie now.
It's cool as fuck.
Yeah,
I love like early 2000s horror movies because there's like some really unique ideas in that time.
Well, we watched. What else did we watch? We watched The Descent.
Yeah, Descent's awesome.
You like that?
Yeah, I like that.
Also, we're gonna watch.
They actually changed the ending in that. In the original UK ending, she actually doesn't get out. It's actually
she gets
her
trapped.
like looking at her daughter with like a birthday cake, but like they found like it was like too depressing for like the US audience or something like that. I don't know. I thought they were like
and not only that,
so they changed
the movie made bank and they changed it. But also, speaking of that, the guy who did The Descent, he did a movie called Dog Soldiers. Now you said you said that your dad was a werewolf fan. Watch Dog Soldiers, dude. It's so good. It's really awesome.
The actual practical effects with the werewolves look good too.
What happens is it's like Predator in a way. Like these military troops have got their fake guns and they're doing a skirmish thing, right? They find a deer all fucked up in the woods. It's set in the UK. It's made in the UK. They go to this house because they're sort of lost. The house belongs to the fucking werewolves. Like mama werewolf, daddy werewolf, baby werewolf. They all live there. And so they're barricaded in this house and these fucking werewolves are trying to kill them. It is a fucking over-the-top English horror movie that is just so cool. And what's cool is the guy who made The Descent made this before The Descent. And it's really, really good. It's a really great horror movie. And it's just, it's got that English humor in it. And sort of that sort of thing. So it's a great movie. I really liked that film. And what was another one we liked? That was really cool. Fuck! It's 2:00 in the morning. Shit! Oh my god!
It's 2 in the morning.
Everybody is snoring.
I just gotta say this before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
A classic that if Tyler hasn't watched it, you should watch it with him. Christine.
We have watched
that
Christine.
movie.
Christine is great.
Yeah.
Loved it.
I fucking love that movie, man.
John
I'll never forget.
Again.
Yeah, I remember, dude. I had stayed home from school, and my dad had taken a vacation day. Right,
Yeah.
I fucked up. I took a day off from school. I didn't know that he was gonna be home, and so I was like, "Fuck!" Now I can't like play video games and shit, do everything I wanted to do. But I remember I came out to the living room and he was watching Christine. He was like, "Have you ever seen this?"
Yeah.
I was like, "No, what's this?" He's like, "It's Christine." And he
Kill a
starts
car.
telling me about it. And he was like, "Yeah, he's trying to kill a car." And I was like, "Man, I don't know. That sounds kind of stupid." He's like, "No, sit the fuck down. Like this movie's a shit, right? Sit the fuck down." Dude, that movie was dope. And I swear to God, that scene where that chubby dude was running away from the car, I was laughing my fucking ass off. But I think overall I love that movie though, because it's like it's just a concept that even though like it doesn't even have to be a supernatural car, but just the concept of knowing somebody
Mm.
and then becoming so grim and dark out of fucking nowhere,
Yeah,
and
because
them
he
just
played
being
because the
able to,
guy who's like this mold meek guy, this geek, pushing he's got the tape on his glasses, becomes like this bit of
Mhm.
a, he becomes like a bit of a piece of shit. He becomes like this real
It's
arrogant
like
asshole.
a accurate representation of like a dude and a rockabilly couple who's just going like through a midlife crisis. I was
Yeah.
trying to kill him.
Yeah, but it's a great movie. It's a great movie,
Yeah,
and
it's
not only that,
great
it's based on a Stephen King book too. Now that was another thing also with the 80s and the 90s was everything Stephen King was made into a fucking movie, like so many.
It's
And
now.
and
It's
well,
not
it's
gonna
it's
shit.
no, it's like a resurgence again with Stephen King because like there was a bit of a spate where they didn't do many Stephen King things because like they were a few flops, but like Cujo was great.
Would you consider what's the Stephen King movie where he's like trapped with this woman? She's like taking care of him.
Misery.
Would you consider that a horror movie?
Oh
In
yeah.
a way? Like a
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Because that's like a
Yeah.
psychological horror. That's like
You know,
a
apparently
battle of wit.
That's supposed to be based on Stephen King's like cocaine addiction, like how he trapped himself or someone, these family members or something. They trapped him in like this house to
Get rid of his,
get rid of his
yeah.
addiction and stuff, and he felt like he was
Mm.
like a prisoner there and stuff. So he wanted to write something about that. Which is actually pretty cool because the character in the show is like a writer as well.
Yeah.
So I guess it sort of betrays him a little.
And I
bit.
like James Caan in that role. He was good, but like
Yeah, and
What's-
not to mention the what's her name? Oh, she was in that movie we watched, the Clint Eastwood movie not too long ago.
Kathy
something?
Bates.
Kathy
Kathy
Bates,
Bates?
yeah. Kathy
Yeah,
Bates.
she knocked it out of the park in that Misery.
She's a good actor.
She's a
Yeah.
great actor. She's really good.
Yeah, she was good. Kathy Bates was good in American Horror Story. There
I
was a
heard.
season.
I have not watched. I watched the first season, majority of the first season, and I watched bits and pieces of the other seasons. But
Doesn't really grip me.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think I've got to get
American
into
Horror.
that.
Okay, I'm saying right now, seasons 1 and 2
Mm-hmm.
are the shit. I love season 2 just because it's based off Geraldo Rivera, that dude with the mustache that does the news stories
Yeah,
and
yeah,
shit.
yeah. I know him.
Okay, so when he first started out his career,
Mm.
he went and infiltrated this like insane asylum that was known for like abusing their patients.
Yeah.
And there was an infamous scene that he had on the news that broke in where like camera
Mm.
crews just rushed into this building and were showing like them abusing these patients and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And they incorporated that into season 2. I thought it was phenomenal. Now Kathy Bates gets introduced, I believe. God, man, maybe it's season 3 or 4, but my favorite seasons was season 5 with Lady Gaga because you get to see Lady Gaga's butt and some boobies,
I
which
like
is
Lady Gaga.
mwah.
I like Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga's
Lady
nice.
Gaga
And
booty
then
and boobies sounds like divine to me.
she-
La la
she had
goopa.
Does that
and then Kathy Bates had
live
a
action
very
movies?
big role. I'm trying to remember. I think it was the Roanoke season, which was like season 7 or 8.
Mm.
But yeah, I highly recommend that show too. It's definitely like if you're a horror fan, seasons 1 and 2, Coven's decent, but yeah, season 1, 2, and 5, I recommend the most.
All right, I'll check them out.
Yeah.
Are you
Shit.
guys
I
specifically just talking
probably
about,
need to
like,
let you
live
go.
action
It's
movies
2 in the
and
fucking
stuff?
morning.
Sorry,
Now.
what was that, Tom?
Are
Sorry.
you guys just talking about live action movies?
We're just talking about mainly like horror
Just like
films that
horror
are like we got a generation from the 80s and we got a generation from the 90s. What about your current generation, Tyler? Like what was your first experience like scary horror film that you scared the shit out of you?
Monster Squad, the scared the fuck out of me as a kid. It was like lame as fuck, but like the Wolfman used to give me the shits, man. It used to tear the fuck. It used to scare the fuck out of me.
That's
I remember
funny as
watching it as a
shit.
kid.
Wolfman's got nuts.
Because Dad's seen the movie before and stuff like that. So when we were watching it, he would know when like the Wolfman change bits were coming up, and there's like one bit when he's in like an ambulance or something, I think, and they got shot. And Dad's just like, Tyler, go to the toilet, mate. I don't even go. It's like, go to the toilet now. And I'm like, oh shit, so I'll just run. But the dumbass that I am, I didn't actually go, and I was like peeking through like the door and shit like that. And I look. Or when you're watching what was it? Come on, he's like in a zombie. It's like a horror zombie movie, Zombieland. You're watching Zombieland with Crystal and stuff, and I was
Oh my God, yeah, that's
the
a while
door
back.
like next to the Landry, and I was like creeping through like the little I was like, and it was like the bit where the guy's like taking a dump,
And the zombie
And
comes out of the
it's
top. I
red, I was
remember
like,
that. You
oh,
scared the shit out of
and
me.
I like hid under the sheets and shit. But no,
That's funny.
That's
I
gold.
don't know. Like, it doesn't specifically have to be like monsters to me. I specifically like monsters more instead of just typical guy with a knife because
Yeah.
it's like, it's got also that mystery to it as well. You always know it's going to be like some lunatic guy. He has like a reasoning and stuff.
Yeah.
But a show I was watching, I don't know if it's considered a horror, but it does have gore to it and like psychological elements to the characters. But I was watching that anime, The Guns, where like these people die and they get sent to this room, and it's kind of like a dream area where they're still technically alive, but they're like spirits sort of. And what they have to do is like every so often they get sent to this world where this like black sphere tells them to kill these aliens
Yeah.
or something or capture them.
Yeah.
And every time it happens, new people come in and they don't know what the fuck's going on, so they got to explain to them. They got to wear these suits and shit that give them like super strength and everything. But it's gruesome as fuck. Like it's like you see everything, man. Like there's one chick where she's hugging this guy before she got cut in half, and like acid's like burning her bottom half. Yeah, it's like gruesome as hell. And also, like, the main character is, like, the horniest motherfucker ever. Like, he loves... Even the show specifically makes fun of him for it. But, it's really good, man. Like, you can just see, like, when they introduce new characters, they don't know what the fuck's going on, and they're panicking and shit, so they do dumb shit.
Is it animated, or is it actually live action?
There is a live-action movie, but I haven't really seen
Well,
it.
check that one out.
But I really want to read the
you
manga.
you touched on a subject about it being the gore and stuff. Also, briefly before we head off, is like the Hellraiser series as well was another. Like I got Tyler to watch the first one and he liked it, and that's just another like in my era you had Evil Dead, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, you had all these. You already had all these really staple like movies and
One
stuff.
thing I actually prefer, that's like, when it comes to old school, I actually prefer the newer ones, only the specific ones. But the Michael Bay, would you say reboots of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, like the first one they did, even though like they're still the massacre slasher movies. The fucking practical effects they do and stuff, like they did this bit where when the chick blows her head off and stuff, where she blows a hole through her mouth.
Yeah.
They actually use like an air gun and then they have like the blood and stuff in her mouth and stuff, so it looks like she shot herself.
Yeah.
And they actually try to get this camera to pan out from her head, and the guy they said they had to do like 40 or 50 takes or something to get that shot, but he was like persistent to do it.
Yeah.
And not to
actually,
mention,
actually that was
Lee,
actually right.
What's his name? Lee Harvey Erning or something.
Lee Emery.
Lee, yeah. He was great in
the
it.
drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket.
And there's also like a really cool bit where the boyfriend of the main character is gone and she doesn't know what happens to him, and also he's dead and he's getting like his face sewn up on him. And there's a bit where they're in the car and the headlights are on. And one of the chicks, she runs out and she gets attacked by Leatherface, and he's like digging into her puppy like fluffed up jacket, and all like the fluffs in the air, and the headlights are just shining on him. And when he turns around, he's got the boyfriend's face on it. It's just such a cool bit. Although one thing I don't like is how they reuse some of the shots that were made in the original movie, like the one where they jump over the fence and stuff. Which
it's like like a nostalgia homage to the original. But yeah, actually, that was actually a decent reboot. I gotta admit, that was actually not bad.
On number 3 though, they were like, you know what? It's hillbilly motherfuckers with chainsaws. Let's just make this a comedy sort of movie in a way, and let's make Leatherface have like a relationship with this chick. It's like weird as fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
and he's like dumb. He's like, I love you, and all that stuff.
But it depends. See, that's the problem with movies. Like when they do make sequels, it's like, and they make so many sequels, it's like they started running out of ideas, and they change.
Well, so they don't know the direction of the movie they want to do. It's like with Wes Craven, with fucking Nightmare on Elm Street movies. You know, what did he do? He did like the first one.
He did the first one. He didn't do the second one. He got involved in the third one, The Dream Warriors, which I liked.
Yeah, that one's awesome.
Number 4, he wasn't involved in all 5 or Freddy's Dead. But then he did
Wasn't 5.
Yeah, Freddy's dead.
Wasn't
Then you.
5 one where like the
Yeah.
kids realized that they could like make their own superpowers and shit like that?
Dream Warriors was the where they had the I was the wizard and all that sort of stuff, which was cool. I like
Yeah.
I
that.
love that one.
That was
because
really
I just
cool.
It was
love
a
when
cool
Jimmy goes
concept.
to
It was
Jimmy, he's like,
poorly
"Fuck
acted,
the
but it was
prime
a cool
time,
fucking
bitch!"
concept.
And he
Yeah.
fucking smacks.
Isn't it, Jennifer?
Awesome.
You big breaker TV. I love, but that's when Freddie was like became like
He came like more.
he was
like,
more he was like pop
a drug-
culture. He was like an
yeah.
icon. He was like, but when New Nightmare came out, the most recent one,
that
where
was
he's
him
like
into
comes
real
out of the
life, right?
page and he's actually
Yeah,
hunting the
yeah.
actors from the
I
original
want to watch
movie.
that one so bad.
You haven't watched it?
I really want to watch.
I
it
thought you
because
watched it. Well, we
actually
have to watch
scary.
that
And I
one.
want to watch the first one too because the first one's apparently supposed to be actually scary.
It is actually creepy as fuck because I remember
Yeah.
watching that movie and scared me. But I think we need to wrap this up. But
Yep.
before we do,
Perfect.
is there anything else you want to discuss about like anything like a horror movie wise? Like a
No, I
question?
just wanted to say, I just wanted to say to everybody who's still watching, thank you for listening up to this point. And if you're somebody who loves horror movies and hasn't watched any of the classic '80s or even some of the stuff from like the
Mm.
20s and 30s and
Mm.
the 40s, do yourself a
Mm.
favor and go back and check them out because I think at the end of the day, um,
Mm.
horror doesn't have to be gore. Horror doesn't have to be CGI.
No.
Tyler had talked about it. We've talked about it. It's atmosphere,
Yep.
lighting, camera angles, the whole
Mm.
shebang.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of good horror movies out there. I hear so many times people talking about, man, there's nothing good horror movies to watch. There are so many great classics
Oh,
to delve
definitely,
into.
dude. There's so
good
many
hor-
great
like
ones.
great horror movies that are good.
Mm.
So just make sure that you go out, check them out,
Mm.
and leave in the comments some of your favorite horror movies.
Yes.
So that way PSD gets some interaction so we can talk with you
Mm.
because I'll be checking it out. I'll be
Mm.
commenting on it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, let us know.
Yeah. Exactly. It took the words out of my mouth. Definitely appreciate everyone who's actually stuck around it for this long. But like I said, we are really enjoying doing these video podcasts and just discussing movies and genres and films and stuff as such and TV shows. But if there's anything that you want to mention, actually, yeah, comment below. What was your top horror movies as watching as a kid? And what's your current horror movies that you like watching? Is there any movies you want to recommend to us to watch, maybe review or comment and do something about? That'll be great as well. But like I said, it's been great, and also having Tyler give his few cents in here as well.
Yeah.
We should put another title, maybe Stone Samurai PS2 and Tyler special guest star at the top here. But honestly, I'm really enjoying these, and I'm probably going to do more of these with Stone Samurai because we got nothing else
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
better to do.
Oh yeah, man, they got
yeah.
shit to do.
Yeah, we ain't got shit to do. We got
Yeah,
two bad movies. But like I said,
Yo, I mean, hey, in a couple hours, I'm going to be recording another podcast. So
oh
there you
yeah,
go.
I'm actually. And what is your podcast? If you want to, if you want to send me a link, I can actually put that in the YouTube, dude.
Yeah, no
Uh,
worries.
yeah. So,
No worries.
well, what's the name of your podcast, and what do you discuss on there, dude?
Content Confessions is the name of the podcast. You can
Mhm.
check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. I will say we do have a couple Spotify specific episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we have music in there.
Mm-hmm.
The first season is me interviewing different streamers and kind of talking about stream life. We have an episode with PS2 on there.
Yeah. Don't
And then the
watch that.
second season, it's actually pretty good. You get to
Yeah.
learn a lot about PS2.
Poor bastards.
Second season is first couple episodes are with a couple friends. The most recent episodes have been with my brother, American history, and now we're kind of like on international history.
Mhm.
Just to give you a taste, we're
Mhm.
talking about recently something called Operation Gladio. It involves the
Yeah,
CIA,
you were saying about that.
NATO, the Vatican, and the Mafia. So if that's
Mm.
something you guys are interested in, check us out. Content Confessions.
All right, nice plug there, man. Awesome. So yeah, we're gonna call it a wrap there. Like I said, if there's anything, please comment below. Please like and subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to do that. Really would appreciate it. And if you like these, we'll keep making these because we are enjoying the fuck out of them. And if you don't like them, we're still gonna make them. Who gives a
Still
shit?
gonna make them.
Fuck it. I don't
Yep,
give a fuck.
fuck you.
We're gonna make it. I don't care if we get 0 views. But anyway, peace out from me. Peace out from.
Wait, is the next thing you're gonna do, the next podcast you're gonna do, is it gonna be about like the video game nostalgia or anything like that?
I don't know. Me and Stone Sarah will discuss it behind the scenes. But if you guys want to comment down below on what would you like to pick a topic, maybe on what you wanted us to discuss, that'd be great as well. But anyway, we're going to call it a night. Thanks for watching and listening. And Two Fans Chat, we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Toodles.